Were you moaning about England versus Malta last night?
Look, I thought it was poor. But it's one of those games where you almost can't win unless you win by 5 or 6. I think the fact that we didn't have a shot on target by half-time, and I think our first shot was in the 60-something minutes, it isn't good enough. I mean, fair play to Malta. Before the game, they'd played 7, lost 7, scored 2, conceded 18. So I'm thinking...
It didn't look like that, though, did it?
They didn't.
No.
They definitely went to Wembley and went at England and actually could and should have gone 1 up in the first minute and had a couple of chances early on in that first half. But I just felt that... And that's the problem when you sometimes make enough changes. I don't criticise Gareth for the team that he picked at all. I think North Macedonia were the more difficult one. I think he would have learned on certain individuals. I think Phil Foden, I like him. I love him as an 8. I think he's even better when he's in the midfield. I want someone like him with the talent of him to be on the ball as much as possible. And when you're playing out wide, you're waiting for the ball to come to you. Of course, you can come inside sometimes going looking for it. But generally speaking, the players down the spine of the side and certainly in midfield will be seeing more of the ball. And I want to see him on the ball as much as possible. Yeah. I still feel he can do even more. But I thought he was our best player last night.
Like another level to be unlocked.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think he can. You know, we've talked about, and I hate sort of mentioning players of the past and heaping pressure on, but he can handle it. You know, he is like our present-day GAZZA in terms of the ability that he's got. So I want to see him, you know, produce that type of form. But I thought he was good last night. I thought Trent showed he can do a job in midfield for England.
Yeah, and just a job though, isn't it?
No,
I didn't think he was. I know I heard sort of Stuart Pearce there say that he thought that Trent and Foden were good. I think Trent was okay. Just okay.
I thought he was better than okay.
Really?
I thought it was one of those where the players around him and the movement perhaps wasn't as good. You know, Harry Kane, it almost looked like, you know what, okay, I won't run around as much as I normally do up until when maybe we got the second goal and then he really sort of came about. But Trent's, I think, his ability on the ball. Look, Gareth doesn't trust him as a right back. So his best way of getting into the England squad and certainly the England team and definitely in the latter stages of a competition is in that position.
He's tried different positions though, hasn't he, Trent? I mean, obviously for Liverpool, is that hybrid role where he goes into the middle more as a sweeper and just sprays balls around. Yesterday, it felt like a 10. That's kind of where he was, right, as a 10. I still don't know what the position is for England.
No, he's a holding midfielder with someone alongside him.
Yeah,
it's a 4-2-3-1, or you can do a 4-3-3, I suppose, if you know, say like a Bellingham can push on a little bit further forward, but he needs someone alongside him. You can't. I don't believe, because I someone who have said on many occasions I think he's one of the most talented players this country's ever produced. I'm talking ever. That's a big statement, but I think defensively you can't trust him 100%. So I get it where Gareth is coming from. So I think even in that holding midfield, if he was a singular pivot, then I wouldn't trust him 100%, and I'm pretty sure that Gareth wouldn't. But if he's got someone alongside him like a Declan Rice, he can spray the ball for fun. I mean, his ability is just outrageous.
So could you see an argument or a situation where it is Bellingham, Rice, Trent?
Yeah.
Starting for England?
Yeah, I could. Well, look, would I like to see it? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think that will happen? No, I don't. I think Trent is one of those where in a competition someone has to get injured, suspended, a real bad loss of form. And I think even the loss of form, I don't think Gareth changes his mind easily. I'd still prefer Foden in there rather than the Trent and play a little bit further forward. And so you've got that Bellingham who can come and help out Declan Rice when he needs to be, but he can bomb on as well. Obviously, he's been playing as a number 10 for Real Madrid, but I think it's difficult to say his best position because he's absolutely smashing it out there in Spain, isn't he? But he's that good, he can play anywhere. And I think if you've got Foden almost as that sort of attacking midfielder, Bellingham that attacking midfielder, Declan Rice as the holder, with, you know, Saka on one side. I still like to see Raheem Sterling. I think he's playing better than Marcus Rashford on the left, and Jack Grealish as well. So I'd put Sterling there and Kane up front. I think that's a team where, and I said this the other night, Addy, where I think in 2016 and 2018, Gareth looked at the countries that won, Portugal and France, and said, look, they're quite pragmatic. That's how you kind of manage the tournament. I think football's moved on a little bit since then. I think it's all about being expansive.
Yeah.
You know, Pep Guardiola, again, I've gone on record, I think he's one of, if not the best ever. And I think what he's done to football is he's made it so that it's actually about attacking. It's about trying to be as expansive as possible. Not necessarily we score more goals than you, and we don't mind conceding because they don't concede many goals, City. But that's the way to do it. And I think that our best players are going forward.
Yeah.
So we should try and be as attacking as possible. And I think Declan Rice and then Jude Bellingham just helping out the back four at times. I think it's between us and France for the Euros. I really do. And that's not being disrespectful to the rest. But if you look at the squad that we've got, look at the experience and the squad that they've got, it's between those two teams. So, look, it wasn't good last night. It wasn't great. But I don't read anything into it. It was Malta at home. I just think there were some players that perhaps were decent and there were some players who were disappointing. Yeah,
let's hear what England manager Gareth Southgate had to say about the performance. He spoke after the game with our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers.
I mean, we started well in terms of we were 1-0 ahead, but we didn't start well in terms of our use of the ball. And we were a little bit loose without the ball as well. So, and I've been in football a long time. If you don't start well, it's very difficult to pick the thing up. So we know we need to be better than that. We know we normally are better than that. I'm not going to hammer the players for that. They've got so many matches. I think you almost self-regulate. They know they can win the game at a canter, and sometimes there's a tendency just to do enough to get over the line, and I think that was one of those nights tonight.
You know what it's like when there's a performance like that, especially against an opponent like that, with all due respect to Malta, of course. Do you feel let down at all by the players that you gave an opportunity to, bearing in mind we've got one camp left until you select the Euro squad?
These players have never let me down, so not in the slightest. I know what it's like to be a player where we're qualified. The opponent, you can beat comfortably. One or two are still finding their feet in international football as well. So no way have these players ever let me down.
Yeah, Gareth Southgate there speaking to Faye Carruthers after the game yesterday. You can hear it in his voice. He's slightly disappointed with the performance as well. But look, all that matters is they won comfortably in the end. A couple of things I think raised eyebrows. Harry Kane's always going to start for England no matter who they play, right? He wants to fill his boots, and he scored a good goal yesterday. Why no Ollie Watkins, though? Why not give him a little run out? I mean, Malta's the easier of the two, as you mentioned. North Macedonia is going to be a lot more harder. So why not give him a go against Malta? 45 minutes, even 20 at the end, just to see what you can do. Bit of pace, something different. Didn't. I don't get it.
I don't either. I mean, look, I've got to start off by saying I'm a big Gareth Southgate fan. I think what he's done to create the culture for England to get as far as they've done in tournaments is very underrated and not. I don't think he's given the respect sometimes that he deserves. Definitely been some issues in terms of, I think in 2018 there was the Croatia game, but he was learning as much as the players were. We didn't expect to be there. Italy was the big one in the Euros in the final. We needed to change it. But the France one in World Cup quarter-final, we were on top. I disagree with people saying you should have changed it, you should have done this. We were on top. You don't change it when we're on top. And fair play to France for finding a way to win. But Pep Guardiola doesn't make lots of substitutions, especially when they're on top as well. So, look, I'm a Gareth Southgate fan, but there was a couple of things there. Ollie Watkins, as you rightly say, this is the easier game on paper out the two.
At home.
Ollie Watkins, what if Harry Kane is injured? You know, what if? We know what Harry Kane can do. So there's no... I get it if you want to play him against North Macedonia, but why play him in both games, which is what is going to happen? And as you rightly say, why keep him on to the very end? We just know. It's almost as if he's... almost like David Beckham-like, where he's actually going to, I'm going to play, whatever, it doesn't matter. I would have liked to see Watkins play, for sure.